Hello, I'm Rebecca Horan and welcome to A Little Birdie Told Me, a podcast brought to you by rollercoaster.ie. In season 4, I'm going to be talking to a range of well-known Irish faces about being in the trenches when it comes to parenting. On this week's episode, I sat down with best-selling author, podcaster and mother Caroline Foran, where we discussed a range of topics, including parenting a sensitive child, anxiety and marriage. Well, I wanted her last season.
I'm so sorry.
No, I don't even know if I even asked because I don't know whether I was too overwhelmed. I couldn't organise it myself or schedule, but I wanted her and then I thought she's not going to be able to do it this season, but I'll ask because if you don't ask, and I knew Caroline, I'll intro her properly now in a sec, but I knew her years ago through the media scene and the circuit and being a journalist. But then I'm watching her now be a mother, which is a completely different journey than I'm watching her on.
Car crash reality
no,
TV.
It's amazing. Probably the most important, I think, female figure at the moment in the parenting space. I think so because of the authenticity, but then the joy and then all the little bits that are dotted in. But I just don't feel it's I don't think you're diluting anything, but I also don't think there's any horseshit. Anyway, I'm so excited to welcome author, podcaster, broadcaster and mama to Caroline Foran. Welcome.
Oh, wow. Thank you for the lovely intro and such nice words. I feel very unworthy of them, but I'm so
delighted.
happy to be here.
Delighted to have you. You know, I guess you worked in a very glam world back in the day in image and kind of then going out on your own and in journalism and everything. And then you got married to the gorgeous Barry. Mm-hmm. Okay. You put down roots. Tell me a bit about that. Like your kind of, I don't know, the dating landscape and how you got with Barry and like all of that. And did you always want to be a married woman with kids or was it just never really an end goal? You were just
juicy.
Happy? Yeah.
So when I met Barry, I was very much like, I wanted to be single. I had just come out of a long-term thing that took me about a year to get over, like a 6-year thing. And I was like, we can go on a date, we can have a bit of fun, but do not expect anything else. And I got the sense that he wanted to ride off into the sunset pretty quickly. And I was like, oh no.
To ride
off into the sunset. Like,
I
should rephrase that. That he wanted to, he felt like he'd found the one. And it turned out that he was the one for me, but it took me, I was too scared to let myself kind of fall again. I thought I was finally okay on my own. And I wasn't sure how I felt about him. I was just all over the place. But about a year of, so I'm definitely not a love at first sight person.
Am I? I'm a lust at first sight.
I can be
think
that
I fall
too.
passionately, but I don't. Yeah, love takes me a lot.
Yes.
And with friends.
Same. So no, actually with friends, I go way too deep, way too quickly. And then I can get burned a little bit.
Okay, yeah, maybe I do that as well. I'm trying to think. I'm like, I'll tell someone absolutely everything about my life, but that's different. That's a trust thing. I'm quite trusting.
It's a good and bad thing, I think. But with Barry, I realized pretty quickly that even though I was trying to deny myself, like, don't get into this. You know, you have to be on your own. You haven't had much time on your own. I had boyfriends back to back. I realized, and I always say this, but it sounds super corny, that when you're with your friends, you're talking about life and what's happening and what's happened and what's coming down the line. And when I was with him, I was just living it. It was just happening. I wasn't thinking back or before.
Wow.
And I just was really in the moment with him and had a lot of fun. And I just really...
So you weren't like, I need to plan the future with him. And you weren't looking at anything. You were just always with him.
I was just with him. And I also, this is bizarre, but I really found his... command of the English language, which I seem to don't have. I don't seem to have right now. So attractive. He was just so able to construct a sentence, and he was smart and
endearing,
able to have a conversation. And there was just so much about him that I thought was great. And then eventually, after about a year of cat and mouse, I was like, okay, fine.
What age were you?
I was 24.
You were young.
Yeah, really young.
I was young as well when I met. Like, that's, I think, young.
Yeah, I wanted to have a few solid years of experience of, you know, I had never really gone on many dates or anything like that. I wanted a couple of like horror stories. Of course,
because you were in these relationships all the time.
Yes.
Okay.
But
maybe you are a serial monogamous. You know what I mean? Maybe you're a relationship gal.
You see, I think I fall in love quite quickly.
Okay.
I don't think I'd ever be single long because I think if I start to meet someone, I bet hopefully
maybe
he's not listening to this.
You and I and do a single together.
But I think, if I feel like there's a vibe there, like I kind of go all in.
Okay, that's really nice.
Yeah, but that kind of means I never got to have a couple of dating experiences because I felt like I owed the person everything. Like if I went on one date, I was like, oh, I don't know how to
say to you.
But I don't know how to be like, I'm going on another date. I feel like, I'm already betraying you. Like I already owe you something.
You're very loyal.
Yeah, very loyal. So anyway, thankfully it worked out that Barry was someone I wanted to stay with. And it took a long time to get to the point of being together, but then as soon as we were together, it fast forwarded.
So you were kind of loosely dating each other, like it was all really lovely, but you weren't talking about moving in, you weren't talking about serious.
No, we were on and off for a while where he was like, I actually want more and I can sense that you don't, and then I was like, wait, maybe I do.
Okay.
And then it was kind of on off, and then we made it official, and he asked me out, and I was like, I didn't think that had to be done at this point.
So American.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go. What
Will
is
you
it?
be my girlfriend?
Yeah.
I mean, he said those words, and it was very sweet. And then, but then I had a really big panic attack that night when I had said we were away, and I'd said, okay, yeah. My body was obviously just like, whoa, you've just entered this commitment. Wow. What if it doesn't work out? What if you get hurt again? What does this mean? What's going to change? And I almost had to have it in order for him to say, he was like, oh shit. He was like, Caroline, like, I just want how we are to stay as we are. Like, who knows about the future?
Yeah, you can't, yeah.
And it was just, it was just classic me to have that.
But
meltdown.
it's like that control. I want to know what's going to happen with this, and that it'll be okay.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I was afraid of hurting him or getting hurt myself. So, but then once I kind of calmed down and I realized that it was just him. It wasn't the relationship idea didn't need to be so scary. It was just him and me and him. And then. But then, so I was like not at the races fully, and he was there. And then so quickly after that, I was like, I'm in love with you. And he was like, that's great. I really like being with you.
Oh my God. Oh
He'll absolutely murder me for this.
Oh my God. Doesn't matter. No one will hear this.
He won't listen to this. He doesn't listen to my own bloody podcast.
Hey, that's my husband, you're grand.
And he was like, Caroline, like I've been invested in this for so long, and I'm only getting used to the idea now that you actually were on board and wanted to be with me. Yeah. And he had never said I love you before or anything, but I went from like 0 to 90.
Yeah.
And I remember I was so livid and mortified. Of course you are.
For saying it.
I was like, I just I was words that I couldn't keep inside my mouth. And
oh God.
And then I remember, because we were in my parents' house at the time, I went downstairs in a huff to my mum, and she was like, immediately, what's wrong with you? I know there's something wrong with you. And I was like, I just told Barry that I love him, and he didn't say it back. And she grew horns and was like, Mama Bear. She's like, well, maybe he's just not capable of loving someone.
Or he's just not that.
And then Barry came downstairs, and she was like,
knew that you'd had the chat because you're very close to him.
And he knew that we'd had the chats, and he was like, I want to actually die. Yeah. And then about 2 weeks later, he was like, I love you too. And I was like, you better not just be saying that because I said it. But he wanted to be really, really sure.
But also it's scary because
it's
you had not cat and moused him, but you weren't sure, Caroline. You were going through all that anxiety, and he doesn't want to be fecked over either. I kind of
exactly.
understand
He's protecting himself.
Yeah.
So then once we were on the same page there, we decided to move in together within a matter of like weeks. But then I had my mental breakdown, my Annus Horribilis, which led to all the books and the podcasts that I've done, and that kind of it didn't put the brakes on us as a couple, but it put the brakes on life and progressing and stuff. For
the
a while,
romantic part of your life, kind of.
Well, it just changed the dynamic so much, where suddenly he was this massive support to me, and I felt like, oh God, this you didn't sign up for this, and it just got very serious very quickly. But it was then that I really knew the measure of him as a person, and he was really like, you have to stop trying to push me away because I love you and I'm here. Now it was terrifying for him, to see the person he loved completely fall apart, and not know when or how we would get myself back together.
But for anyone listening, was there, because people that don't know, and like everyone really in the country does know about Caroline's books and everything that she does and all the anxiety podcast, everybody does know, but if for anyone that doesn't, was there a moment where things fell to shit for you that year, or was it nothing like that? It was accumulation?
No, it was almost an exact moment of starting a new job and leaving an old job. And maybe it was, and also within that same 2 week period, I moved in with Barry. So there was a lot of change for someone who's got quite an anxious, sensitive nature. And I'd always been very attached to being at home, like with my mom, like you said. So maybe subconsciously it was like a storm brewing for a while. And then having left this job that I thought was a good idea to leave, immediately feeling like, oh my God, what have I done? And worrying about like what the future would look like, and I don't want to be here. And they're having conversations about what 5 years, and like back to my loyalty, I was like, I can't leave, what am I going to do? And it was also like there was a big splash made about it. It was a new media company at the time, and it was nothing, I mean, it's not the fault of the company. It was startup mode, but it's just, it didn't suit me, and for whatever reason my body was like allergic to the point that I started to get very, 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 very sick. And my body was screaming at me that this is not right for you, you are not okay. But my mind was like, it was not a two-way street at that point. Until it cranked up to such a level that I got the message when I was like on the floor with anxiety. And I remember taking a couple of days off and thinking, if I just come back after the Easter weekend, I'll be okay. And just knowing I'm not going to be okay. It was so.
What is that?
It was so deep in me at that point. It wasn't just.
No, it was like an illness.
It wasn't a day off that I needed.
I needed. It's not a break to Canaries. Like
no, I needed to majorly step off and step off everything. I mean, I had to step off social media because at the time it wasn't a place you would go unless you were sharing your bikini pictures of Bali. You know, you weren't. So I pulled back.
So it was the boasty time on Insta.
Massively, filters, Valencia filter, everything. I just retreated completely. I couldn't work. I physically couldn't leave my house for a period of time. So that made us very serious. But then as I started to get better,
and he was working and trying to keep.
He was working, and
he was amazing.
He was, yeah. He just started to, because he'd never experienced anxiety before. He researched it so much to try and understand, you know, because people can be very quick to be like, I have a cup of tea and like, just don't think like that. Just
go to the gym
or be grateful. Yeah, that kind of thing. I was like, it's just not, it's not something I'm choosing right now.
Without being assholes, like way back now, I'm so aware of all of these things. But I do remember my 20s going, you just need to drink less alcohol. Or I'm trying to help your pal who was in the deepest, darkest.
I was very, very, very ill physically and mentally. And then because I was so rooted in like being at home in my comfort zone, we were kind of ready to buy quicker than most of my friends.
Home to you was a lot.
It was really important, and I wanted that kind of stability. So we bought our house before the prices got crazy, and we were just the timing. Looking back now, we were very, very.
She's got a beautiful home. You're sure you've seen it on Instagram and Gaff and Tier and you've a beautiful.
That's all right.
Home.
I mean, there's a lot I could do with it. But then. Yeah, then we got engaged a year.
So how quickly is all of this from meeting Barry? What are we looking at?
So 2012, November 2012, first kiss. August 2013, boyfriend, girlfriend. January 2014, move in. Okay, then we lived together for about, I think it was 2015, bought the house. 2016, moved in because it was a new build.
Wow.
2017, engaged. Wow. 2018, married. 2019, pregnant. 2020, baby arrives. Yeah.
Did you feel it was a lot at once or not?
No. I think it was, it was pretty nicely staged.
So you get married, beautiful wedding. I've seen it. Go and check out the pictures.
We've all seen the pictures.
I've seen the pictures.
I've shared
Hello
so many.
magazine. Beautiful pictures, beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Wedding. So you go full throttle into this commitment. That didn't scare the crap out of you? Marriage really, more than having kids, scared the crap out of me, actually. More than buying a house, marriage always scared the crap out of me.
I think we always have had very frank conversations about, even though we were subscribing to this marriage and this commitment and these vows, that we understand human nature, and we could have a very emotionally evolved conversation about how it's not just a given now that we're together because we signed something. We're going to like each time we have an anniversary, we're going to have a chat to check in that we're still
fiscal review.
Yeah, that we're still choosing each other because it's a choice every day.
100%.
And there has been bumps in the road, and
100%.
there will be people that you equally both find attractive along the way, and that you keep making that choice as long as you want to keep making that choice.
I love that you just said that. This is so important, actually. I know this is a parenting podcast, but I love that you're like, yes, we've signed a paper, and it's so different back in the past, the Irish marriages of like, you have to stay in it. You're making a choice every day, both of you, to be with each other, and this forced issue of like, gotta stay together for the kid. That's a really interesting point. I forget that a lot. Like, it is a choice. So that no one's own.
Yeah, having those kinds of conversations makes me a lot less fearful about that kind of commitment. And we to this day still have very open conversations about how, you know, we have certain views on monogamy. We are monogamous together, but we find it kind of bizarre that this is, you know,
stifling.
We're all kind of blindly subscribing to this thing, and it's like, you can only ever have eyes for this person for 60 years.
Yeah, because I think you have a few loves in your life.
I agree.
You know, and I don't think that takes from a commitment I've made, but I actually don't know if it's a human nature, and it doesn't mean that you meet anyone else, but I don't know if it's true that you're going to have one person or one soulmate, or that you can't love anyone else.
No, because it would be too convenient that you would meet that person like in Coppers, you know, when you like, if there's only one person in the whole world.
I think you can have huge chemistry with other people, and maybe you do nothing about that.
I also think it's not that we're in this position, but my friend, a very good friend of mine, is in an open gay relationship, and his kind of point was, it's a lot of pressure to put on someone to be your everything and fulfill every role and need for you. And maybe that's where friends come in, you know, that kind of thing.
But I do think it's the sexual nature of a marriage, which starts off with this high voltage passion, which I think also makes you blindly think you're madly in love too, because you just boning all the time.
Yeah, that's just lust.
Let's be honest,
Yeah.
right? It's just like non-stop boning. And then it's like non-stop date nights and non-stop. And when you buy a house and you have to become domesticated and pay bills and worry about finances and change jobs and have anxiety or have anything that's slightly
And they watch you
outside
give
the
birth.
realm, and they watch their favorite pub burn down, as they always say, give birth and be pregnant, and all of that, like, sexual charge changes a bit. Then you have the friendship charge. Then you have the other argument. And it is an evolution, and you either make it or you don't. Because I have a lot of friends now who are like, I've just turned 40, who have done the 10 years of marriage, who are like, I don't know if we're going to make it. Yeah. And there was such judgment in the day. So it is interesting how marriage works and raising kids, which we're going to get to now, because I think that adds a whole other level of bomb.
A whole other level.
It is, because you and I also think before you have kids, which I sometimes miss, and I talk a lot about in the last season about your grief and your being bereft of your past life, which you try not to be, but you can't help it sometimes. Like, I wish I was just going on holiday on my own. And when you're together as a couple, you can choose to go out on your own and be separate and have independence. If you're pissing each other off, you have breaks. Whereas with kids, you have to be a team or you're bunched. Like,
yeah, I think, and it's something you kind of can't really know until you have a kid and are in the depths of experiencing it, to know that you actually do land on the same page. Because what you go into parenting thinking of as how you would like to parent or what you would and wouldn't be okay with changes so
Oh my God.
Changes so, like, I thought I would be so chill and laid
Oh
back.
my God.
You know, well, I don't know why
we should do a whole book on that, what you thought, and it should just be called pre-baby. Like, I can't believe what I am now to what I thought I'd be as a parent.
Exactly.
100%.
I didn't want to have to be in this kind of routine, and now it's...
Did you want kids?
I did. I didn't. Both Barry and I had 2 siblings in our families, so we didn't want like a huge football team or anything. But I always thought we would have 2, and we decided to start trying relatively sooner than we were maybe ready for it, because we both agreed that we'd risk it happening sooner than risk it being
not
later
and
not happening or having
that.
difficulty.
Yeah.
Not that we had any control over that. And I was just excited, but I didn't have a clue. There was no kids in my family, no nieces or nephews. My friends didn't really have kids yet. I was one of the first. So my impression of motherhood and having a baby was very sanitized, very Instagram, very pure bliss and pure joy and the happiest time of your life. And I was like, why would we wait for this? Let's do it. And we were very fortunate that it happened really, really quickly. And
but fast forward to the labour ward.
Do you know what?
Did you know you were having a boy? Did you know anything about it?
I knew I was having a boy because I just feel like there's I like to have as much information as possible.
Great. Armed.
Yeah, and I feel like pregnancy can be enough of a surprise. It also gave me a lot of joy in pregnancy because I was so ill that it helped me to take my attention off the sickness and the pelvic girdle pain and the crutches that I ended up on, to be able to think of this little person and think of his name and do up his room and it just become more real.
Okay.
So I know I'm not the kind of person that would ever leave it as a surprise. And then he came along in the depths of COVID, and I was on my own, as so many women were, going through the throes of labour alone until I was ready to push, and only then could Barry come in. And almost as soon as Caroline popped out, Barry had to go again, and I was wheeled into a room with the baby on my own and watched the door close on my partner and really then what I thought was the finish line. Like, I've done it, I've given birth. The birth was actually for me like not too traumatic an experience.
Good.
But that's when the trauma started for me. It was when I then had the baby in my arms, and
this is it. You're on your own.
And everyone was saying. And I knew there was a certain amount of hormonal shifts that were going to happen, and for me, I feel things greatly. If there's going to be something like that happening, I'm going to feel it a lot. Yeah. I feel good things a lot, and I feel bad things a lot. And I just unraveled, and I wasn't prepared for it, and I was frightened. And I remember I was looking for permission and approval for everything from friends who didn't even have kids or anything, just wanting to know that how I was feeling and was normal and okay. To validate and to reassure me that I wasn't, because everyone was like, you've just had a baby, this is the happiest time of your life. And I was like, I just felt fear. No, look, lots of my friends said to me like, oh, is this the happiest you've ever been? And I was like, this is the most
strange.
frightened I've ever been, the most overwhelmed I've ever been.
I think me and my friend group would have been like, this is the fucking hardest, scariest. Yes, there's a joy that they're here and they're okay, but I think it's a really horrendous time straight after. Actually.
I still feel, with my friend group anyway, and I guess I'm always looking for this confirmation that there was nothing wrong with me. But a lot of my friends have had like a really nice postpartum experience.
Okay.
And I'm delighted for them that they had that. But hearing that someone also felt upside down and inside out helps me not to think what was wrong with you. You just couldn't get into the headspace of it being pure joy. And Caelan was a tricky baby. He the way I describe him is he came into the world with an air of concern about him. Just sees worry wherever.
Wow.
And wasn't happy lying down, wasn't happy sitting up, wasn't happy in the buggy, wasn't happy in the car, hated this cot. Didn't want to sleep with me, didn't want to sleep without me, didn't want to sleep, didn't want to be awake, just
air of concern is such an incredible wow, what an amazing descriptive air of concern. Just frightened by the
just
world
a bit
little,
like
or
I'm
just
not content, and it was just very hard to make him happy. I couldn't do anything
because
right.
I do find, Caroline, I watch with glee and pride in you being a pal but also a woman in your responses to assholes on Instagram, which just because I'm not very good at that, and I suppose I'm also trying to keep my job and I'm trying to not piss people off, and I probably do piss people off easily, but I do love your responses to people are like, would it be how you're being around? Would it be, do you think you're giving him your anxiety?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a very common belief. And I mean, I think there may be some element of like transgenerational trauma that can carry
100%,
on.
and we all have it because
yeah.
everyone back in the day
Yeah,
was messed up, right? Let's not go, it's just Caroline Foran's fault.
No.
Sorry, we all have transgenerational trauma.
Yeah.
Are you mental?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
But I'm just saying, we cannot say to mothers and fathers that their own anxiety or mental health or depression is being transferred. Like, stop.
Well, I thought that was the case, and that really
Did you?
Well, because that's what people were telling me, and I had no evidence, to the contrary until
Caroline's great. She copies and like she cuts out the things and puts it up and just goes, just to say thanks for this. Like, and it's great.
I do hide their name, but
people think they own you. They're like, she's got loads of following and she's like a mom. I'll just say what I want to say. Like, horrendous.
Well, sometimes it's pure judgment dressed as faux concern, and I also shared because another woman who maybe is getting it from a mother-in-law or a friend who doesn't feel, poor mother-in-laws. Now I have a great mother-in-law, but we give them an awful reputation.
Brilliant.
So that's kind of part of why I shared that. And also I've always been with social media looking for this validation, and anyone else will put their hand up and say, yeah, me too, because I can't exist on it if I'm only putting out this version of myself.
Yeah.
That will create so much anxiety in me where I'm like, oh, if you only knew. So I just kind of bulldoze right.
You've made a choice on that. Like, do you know Stacey Dogood? She's the journalist in the UK. She's amazing. She used to work, I think she was a editor for Style in the New Yorker. Anyway, she's this pretty prolific writer, and she not made a mess of her life, but she made some choices, had an affair, her marriage broke down, she had 2 small kids, everything was a shit show, and she didn't realise how financially dependent she was on her husband at the time, when she needed to be like, bye, I gotta get out of here, I'm suffocating. And she wanted to take the kids, but she's written some incredible columns and books and she's done a podcast recently about money and finances and marriage. But she was saying when she goes on Instagram, she's so real, like she's amazing to watch. But she's like, look, I'm not showing you on the bathroom floor when I'm literally puking with tears and things are very bad. And I've had a bust up with my, or the kids. I'm not going to show you that because actually no one needs to see that rawness. That's actually quite private. But yes, I'm going to show you everything in the interim. So she's like, I reflect on the day.
About it after the fact.
Exactly. She's like, I reflect on the day and then I come on. And I think it's what you do. Like, you're not like going to show every part of, Caelan's moments or your moments, but you're coming on and giving us a little bit. And that's good.
I think I probably did a bit too much in the first while, because I was, without having received a diagnosis, I probably was very much postnatal anxiety, maybe a bit of depression, but I definitely
just waking up feeling exhausted and drained and stressed,
just feeling untethered.
Okay.
And it wasn't until quite recently that through talking to different experts or seeking out other mothers who could explain to me that, and experts that can say, no, like, Caelan, it's not just that you find it hard, or it's not just that you can't be chill enough to like be okay with how difficult it is. It's that it is really difficult because highly sensitive kids are as beautiful and emotional and as much joy as they can bring. It's really, really difficult to try and help guide them through the world and get through the day when everything is kind of times infinity in terms of the intensity of emotions and stuff.
And you've kind of just dropped in there for the podcasters, for everyone listening, like, highly sensitive, right?
Yeah.
So you've spoken there about you've given birth during COVID. I did that as well. I had miscarriages and gave birth during COVID, and I just think there's a lot of shit that women are going to have to deal with way down the line on that. It was just not a good vibe, and your husband leaving, and anyway, and then the going home and just feeling very lonely, and there was none of the classes, there was none of the crack, there was none of the support
group, no,
there's just no crack. It was just like, because as much as you say it's a joy and all the wholesomeness and stuff, the crack kind of comes from the banter with other women, the sharing of the breastfeeding stories, the sitting in a church with your boobs out having croissants, like that we need. Humans need a community and camaraderie. I don't care what people say, doing something in isolation isn't fun. So you had none of that. So you were finding he was not overly content with stuff, but you've now said he's highly sensitive. Did you go and get him diagnosed, or did you know, because you're so intuitive and smart and you research things, that he just was highly sensitive? Because I feel that
the more I read up on it, and I have a friend who is a child psychologist and has her own child who is highly sensitive, and then she had a second child who was the complete opposite, and she was able to reassure me, as have other parents since, that it's not, they're not that way because you are this way. They come, she was the one, it's Dr. Aoife Durkin, highly sensitive psychologist, and she's just a very like, she's such a gentle soul, like mine. I just want to wrap her up. But she kind of taught me about this window of tolerance that we're all born with, and how the kid that, you know, glides through a little bit easier comes into the world with a bigger window of tolerance. So what it takes for my son, for example, to reach that point of feeling overwhelmed or stressed, or for his fight or flight to kick in, is so much more narrow than what maybe the kid next to him can tolerate. And even as adults, our window of tolerance can grow, and like the work I do with my podcast and everything, and I know my window of tolerance has grown massively, but my job is to make his window expand without like shattering the glass or
shoving it out, like back in the day, get on with you, be grand, going to the party, go to the...
Well, I can't, because it's just it's backfired on me anytime I've tried to do that, to the extent that it's been months of trying to come back from a really hard place.
What age is he now?
He's just turned 3 in August.
Kaelin is the most gorgeous divine dish. He's super smart.
He's so beautiful. He's frighteningly
great
smart.
Communicator.
He's incredible with his language, and all of those things are very synonymous with high sensitivity. And
how does it what's not the word, appear? How does it, like, how do you find with highly sensitive, just the wanting to be with you, or just not the newness of things is scary? Separation
anxiety would be a huge thing for him. It's different for lots of kids, and for him anyway, noisy environments. So anywhere there's too many people in one room, if it's loud, he says that kind of noise makes him feel sick.
Don't blame him.
Very cautious about anything new. My friends have kids who, like, if they take their eye off them for 1 second, they'll be like running down the road. I know Kaelin will always be by my side. Like, I never have to.
I have to watch Brian. He's going to run in front. You're like,
no, I don't.
That's so funny.
And just he can go into a sensitive phase where if something is under the surface or under the hood affecting him, like whether he was having an issue with his breathing, he had an allergy thing, and it's not just that he has a breathing issue. I start to notice he goes from a certain level of being able to tolerate life in general, and he falls down and everything bothers him, and he'll be so much more likely to have a meltdown or a tantrum or need me even more. So it's this constant ebb and flow of his emotional needs, depending on what's going on for him. Gets really overwhelmed. So what
makes him happy? What makes him safe? Like, what is it? Just being with you, you know?
Well, once he has a chance to sort of assimilate, I think, or acclimate, is that the word I'm looking for? He's, you know, when it's us and people he knows, and it's not too loud and too noisy, and we're at home or we're in the park or wherever. He another part of for him anyway, the high sensitivity is he really struggles to want to leave the house. So.
Which I think is your biggest...
it's so scary.
Which is your biggest... what you've been charting, I think, the most in that journey. And I find that fascinating, because similarly, you know, I've been through stuff, and I know my friends have, and I find it fascinating how you charted that, because it's a really dark time. It's really honest. It fucks your own career prospects or things you want to do outside the home, or your relationship or your relationships, your friendship. And I think, you know, we talk about highly sensitive, or we can talk about children on the spectrum, and all of that is well and good. But the leaving of the house and how that affects your day to day,
just even
is
get
dark.
out for some fresh air.
Yeah. And I remember it, and you just escaping for half an hour and charging that in your car. And that was so important for people to see. I don't know whether you've saved any of that in your highlights.
No, I should probably go back and create a few.
But that was very interesting.
But even to this day, you know, if he's in a sensitive phase, and it could be So right now it's like a little turtle having gone back in under their shell. And right now we're dealing with the fallout of having tried our best with Montessori and it having been taken such a toll on him to the point that he like held his wee in for 24 hours because he's trying to control the things that he thinks he can control when he feels out of control about other things. I can see that he wants to cope, like he's constantly asking me to read these books that we have about starting school, and he loves, we call it school, not preschool. He wants to cope, but then he's in the situation and his little sensitive nervous system just cannot cope right
and
now.
is it the being there with the newness, the kids, the place,
and
the
being left,
everything being left?
Yeah, but even so we still take him. Our plan is, I couldn't keep going, honestly. It was the three of us.
Was it horrendous?
It was horrendous.
Okay.
Three of us were
so
just
you'd go
stressed
down,
out.
he'd be Devo, you'd be Devo.
Well, I couldn't even leave him because he's not the kind of kid that would get distracted or get over it.
And they'd ring you in 10 minutes and go, grand.
Or if it was like where he gets a bit upset and then he's fine, and then when he's home he's fine.
It's not like that.
He fell apart at home as well. He wouldn't eat. He couldn't sleep.
So it affected everything.
It affected, and I could see that all that work that we had done to help build him up, to build his sense of confidence and security, it can have such far-reaching effects for someone like him. And I felt massive pressure from society at large saying, this is just a rite of passage. They have to do it. We all have to do it. What if you had to go to work 9 to 5? You'd have no choice. It's really good for them. It's good for their socialization.
Privilege, Caroline, that you get to bring them.
Exactly. All this stuff. And the more I felt, I was on the floor with it. I felt like I'm failing massively. And the feeling of like comparing your kid to every other kid in the room who seems to be honestly fine. And like maybe they have a bit of a whinge and then they get over it. I was just in bits. And my stomach started to get quite sick again with the worry. And even Barry was he's never experienced anxiety, like to the extent of being a parent now, where, so in the first few baby stages, you're in the throes of it and you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed because it's difficult in that moment. Now it's more the difficulty, the anxiety comes from us being like, how do we move forward? What if this gets harder? How do we set him up so that he's not going to
independence?
Like worrying about the future for him. Will he find life difficult? What kind of, if is there a diagnosis coming for us? And so for people have asked me this several times, and I haven't said it on social media. But what Aoife had recommended to me, she, as a friend, would say, Caroline, he's definitely highly sensitive. I don't see any traits of autism disorder with him, but what she says to everyone is go and get the assessment done for even peace of mind.
100%.
Now, whether or not he has some neurological or some neurodivergency going on, he is who he is.
It's not going to change. Yeah, it'll be, you have the info, but
he needs the support that he needs. It's not going to change him.
You already know what you have to do, whether you're told child is more. Yeah.
So we could get, definitely it's always, I think knowledge is power, to be equipped with knowing, and also just tempering your expectations, because for so long, this anxiety that I have felt as a parent is trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and waiting and watching
and trying to do what every other parent is doing with the child that may not be in your. I remember Stephanie Preisner on the last season saying, and she says, and it's the only clip that it really hit home to people, I was an undiagnosed autistic child. And I'm like, well, what was the difference of finding out? And she's like, well, Rebecca, I didn't understand why everyone changed their boy band, that they liked a month later. Why were they doing that? We all made a decision for life on Boyzone. And I laughed my head off at her because she's so honest. And she's like, we all liked Nutella and crackers. Why the hell were people eating peanut butter and toast 3 months later? And why do they suddenly like Emer in art when we were all meant to be just, and she goes, any change, any. And she said, I didn't understand why the world wasn't made for me, and it was really depressing, and it caused me to. And she goes, so yes, it's great to know now as an adult because this is what I do, and I don't like this. And
well, it gives you context, and it gives you permission and validation, and you stop. So I had Stephanie on my podcast as well. It helped her stop with the social comparison because now your point of reference is different. So being able to advocate for Caelan and his sensitivity and say, no, we know that while most kids will thrive in this scenario or go on to love it, for him it could actually do damage. For me to push him into something that he's not ready for would then create problems when it comes to primary school. I don't know that I have coped very well. I think for me, a coping mechanism is seeking out as much information as I can to help make sense of things. And I'm very solution focused with Caelan for sure, where, I knew trying to listen to my gut was the only way I could cope. And that was really hard because what my gut was saying is not what the rest of the world was saying. And like I say, I sought out people who had similar experiences and said, you know, you can do it a different way. Now, I'm very fortunate, and I always have to say this because I know not everyone is in a position where they can drop work, but I have had to drop a lot of things in my work, but I work for myself, so I have that flexibility. But I kind of designed my career that way going in. Even before I was pregnant, I always knew I wanted to set myself up this way to have that flexibility. Having worked in a couple of environments that were not suited to my temperament, and having had that fright when I worked in that full-time job, I knew I really wanted to be my own boss. So I worked a lot to build that up, and now I'm so grateful that I had that foresight, because it allows me to give Caelan the support that he needs, and say, okay, I'm not going to keep pushing this right now. And the fear of saying that to like both of our families, because it was like, just keep persevering. It's like, persevering to what end? Until we have enough evidence.
Do you feel you have to explain yourself?
I feel like that all the time.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say. I mean, maybe it's just age, or I'm an asshole. I actually don't. It's the one thing I might do okay for myself. I just don't explain stuff to people within my group or family anymore. I don't care what people think. I'm sure people have huge judgment of me working full time and the babas to go to creche, and how I commit my evenings and weekends to them, but how from my mental health and being financially independent of my husband, I need to work. And I know there is conversations had around that and other things that I do. And you know what? It's funny that only in the last year or two, I don't really care what you think.
I think I'm only getting there now, but I've always been a person who's looked to fit in or to be validated. So it's really a departure for me to say, do you know what, I'm done with this. This is what we're doing. I've invited unwittingly invited a lot of opinions and advice into my life from what I've shared on Instagram. A lot of it well-meaning, some of it just really hurtful, and it messes with your head. It makes you dilute your own voice, and it's there saying, no, you know what's right for you and your son. So eventually Barry was away at the Rugby World Cup for a weekend, and when he came back, I was like, we're going to have this chat. I was like, I know that you think we need to keep going. He might turn a corner, but I can already see the negative impact this is having on him, and I believe it's not something he's going to push through and just have a different personality one morning and skip in. He's only just turned 3, and what I don't want to happen, and this is just us, is that we push him to the point that he becomes ill, and then when it comes to school, which is something you can't opt out of, we'll create so many more, like that's going to be difficult as is anyway. So, and also this whole preschool thing, it was set up to support working parents. Like you don't
need them to be in there. You don't need them to be
it's
in there.
It's not a requirement. And the whole thing of like socializing your kids, like you can't force socialization on them. What's most important at his age is his feeling not really anxious every day. Yeah. And that's what
being content.
Given my background, I don't want to set him up for a life having this constant fight or flight switch on for him. I want to listen to my child, and I'm very fortunate that I'm very privileged that I can. Now it's been really intensely difficult.
But also lots of women, Caroline, around the world are pushed out of the workplace for various reasons, but mainly because they are the main caregivers. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, my husband, like Barry, is just a fantastic dad. He just is, probably in comparison to what we were dealing with, 30, 40 years ago. But like we do have that fundamental pull and guilt. We just do.
Yeah, I think so. And it just wasn't an option for me. If I had have been in a full-time job where I had to push him, he probably would have gotten really ill. And then later down the line, I would have been like, I can't do this. We need to rearrange things. We need to maybe downsize our house. You do whatever you have to do to function. But I'm going to make sure, because of my struggles with mental health, that I don't compromise his mental health.
But he probably, like, you are such a dichotomy, I think, from externally, from just watching. You have a huge inner core strength and resilience, like you just do, right? And yes, you've gone through and go through what you go through, but there's something in you, right? And perhaps he has that, and he probably does, which would be amazing, that you are a huge success as an author, right? Owning it, like your podcast, the amazing downloads you get, the success, the people wanting to work with you, right? And have you on and paying you to do things in ambassadorship. So it's not like you're fanning around and nothing's really happening for you in your career. You are a huge success, Caroline, in your own right, not because of Barry. or not because someone helped you or an agent helped you. You did that. And then you have this vulnerability and fragility on the other side. So you are quite, which is so interesting and probably is what makes you a huge success. So you have to also remember that maybe part of him is, you know, a little bit of you is there with him, and he's going to be amazing. Like, think about that.
I mean, I definitely, there are, like, I know we've talked about the difficulty with high sensitivity, but I've had messages from parents who are now in the teenage phase, and the kid who gave them the hardest time with the difficulty and like the way I described Caroline, you know, just trying to get through the day and having honestly a lot more difficult days than good days. That when they became a teenager, that was the kid they had to worry least about because they were so emotionally aware, so secure,
emotionally
intelligent. Whereas the ones who were maybe wild and carefree,
they
all kind of hit their bumps in the road at some point, and we all do.
Agree. And I watch my sensitive one now as she's getting a bit older, and I see her cope with other people being sad in class or bullying or the nature of
the
kids.
Empathy is so beautiful, and it's just another level. And
do you love being a mum?
I love it. I really think it's important to clarify, though, and I remember reading this in a book by Oliver Berkman in one of his many books. He's my favorite author for nonfiction. There is a difference between happiness and fulfillment.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can be, I have been fulfilled this whole time, but I have not been happy this whole time. And it's different. There are real peaks of happiness, but to expect that becoming a mother would make you happier all the time or keep you, I've plunged to low. Like, I've never experienced frustration or resentment like I have as a mother before, because I didn't have, if it was grief in a relationship or difficulty in a job, I walked away from it.
Like, see you later.
I'm not going to do that.
Walk away.
My child.
And sometimes, and let's be really frank, you're just like, you little fucker. You're ruining everything. And
like, could you just give me a little break? Could you just make it a little bit easier
or
for
just
me today?
the wanting to go into the loo, or just taking call. I was trying to speak to my dad last week about something kind of important, or those moments where you are all touched out.
Yeah.
Fuck off. And you can't. And it's terrible. Like, across me, you can go fuck off.
I know.
Or your friends, you can just ignore them, but you can't.
It's having your tank completely drained and then having to respond when they've, you know, headbutted you in the tooth and having to respond with just pure love and kindness and gentleness. It's just that reserve is not always there. My friend says it's like being a parent is like being the biggest introvert and then being forced to be an extrovert every single day, and how hard that is. Yeah. Oh, definitely. There's emotions. Do you want to play? No. Yeah. There's elements to it that I just had never confronted before. But when I see a sign of him, when I watch him do well at something like at a birthday party, if I see him start to play with someone and not immediately want to go home, because that's usually what happens, the pride and the joy and the satisfaction and the love is like, I would like to chop up his little toes and put them in a sandwich. Like I physically it's creepy, but true. Want to eat him. And do you think they made him cute for that reason as well? Oh yeah. Yeah, there's something going on there. Yeah. That was dodgy shit going on when kids 100%. Are made. Simone kills me, but she's so cute. Yeah, they have to be. They get away with murder. But yeah, no, it's a hard thing to say, but people ask me on Instagram, do you even like being a mother? And it's such a such a lie. Well, it's such a one-dimensional question because you're taking something I'm saying in one moment of one day and you're applying it to the whole experience, and it's a real what's the word I'm looking for? Not dichotomy. No, it's I know what you're trying to say. Binary, where there's, you know, if I say this, it must mean that. It's also loaded. Yeah, it's a loaded question. If I say it's difficult today, that means it cannot be something that gives me joy and pleasure. It's like you want to. It's not a fun vibe, and then like you're going on the most romantic trip ever, or you're having great sex, or then you're not. Like, everything is constantly changing. For people to think it isn't, or just having a great old time, because that's not life. I feel like I was born to be a mother. I feel like it's my greatest role, the hardest job I've ever done. I don't think any corporate environment could ever throw at me the challenges I agree with I've had with the fragility of a person that you're helping shape, a human. What you take to bed with you, you know, in your mind. There's no leaving it at the door when it's your own child. It's my proudest, most fulfilling role, obviously, but at the same time, the last 3 years have been probably, minus the really bad anxiety, have probably been the hardest of my life. And what about for you and Barry?
Do you feel like you've come out unscathed, like you're grand, you just get on with it, or do you feel like you constantly have to talk about it? Do you feel like you're talking about him all the time? Like, do you sometimes feel that?
Yeah, to the point that the other night we were having a chat and Caelan started to come up and I was like, we're not talking about it tonight.
Great.
I was like, I'm not going down the rabbit hole of, oh, will he be okay? Yeah. You know, what does all this mean?
Brilliant.
And we were talking about, I don't know, interiors or something. I like to deflect to that.
It's hard.
I do think that we're okay, but I also know that, you know, the grass is greenest where you water it, and we can so quickly become passing ships in the night. And like you said, at the end of the day, when you're touched out and emotionally drained from navigating several meltdowns at a supermarket or whatever,
you do not want to bone.
I don't even look at me. So I don't even want to have a conversation with you, you know. So
like your penis can just
sort yourself out.
I remember breastfeeding Simone up until like she's 22 months, and people are like, wow, you're such an earth mom. I'm like, no, I did it because she wouldn't sleep. So it was a survival of the boobs. And then I was working full time, and then you come and like, sexy time then is really hard to discuss. You're like, but
you don't feel sexy.
My body is not my body. I don't even think it's
I remember we were in the throes of it. His sleep was so bad in the first 6 months. I mean, he woke up every 30 minutes or something. But we went for a walk with Caelan obviously, and we just said, look, we've had these kind of mature conversations before. Let's just take the pressure off. At least for the first year, it's not about us.
Let's just let's never touch again until 2028. Then we'll be good.
But just don't think that if we feel distant, whatever, that it's
don't expect.
That doesn't mean there's something wrong with us.
You're right.
We're just completely,
because it's the unspoken things that sore. Yeah.
Whereas I know if we got the chance to go away for 2 nights, we would reconnect again. And for me, it's, you know, absence make the heart grow fonder does not apply to me. I need to be with someone and spending time with them for me to feel like in love again. So yeah, you do kind of, you definitely, I don't think I realized how important that good base foundation is. And I'm very lucky in that, I guess Caelan, because we both see it so much, because Barry's not working out of the office, he sees firsthand the impact that things can have on him. We're very aligned on what we know works for him. So we haven't had massive bust-ups about, well, I want to do this and you don't. We're really are a united front on that. And I'm
Do you think you'd want to have more kids? And that's such a deeply personal question, and you don't have to answer it with some shocking, but do you think you see yourself being a mom to loads of kids, or are you just like, I don't know, right now I'm dealing
I definitely don't see myself being a mom to loads of kids. I grapple with the idea of a second, because...
Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure? No.
I did for a while. Now I don't really,
because when they hit 1 or 2, it's like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. Now I think people kind of know she probably won't.
Or if she does, that'll be in her own time.
But I've been very vocal about it as well. So people have, have said, people know not to ask me. I don't mind you asking me, but people don't say, when are you going to have one? Because they know that I'm like...
But I mean more, would you want to? Not even about trying, or would you, like, is it something that
scares
I'll
tell you.
Now?
I'll tell you. It absolutely terrifies me, the idea of having another one.
Me too.
And even Barry, I'm so frightened, because I feel, for my own window of tolerance and what I can manage, I'm at capacity. And I've had to work so hard to realize that doesn't mean that I'm less than another person, because their window of tolerance might just be bigger and they can handle 3 kids, or they're just lying. But I know that I only feel like we're getting close to coming up for air around now. And the tendency, I think, in human nature is to establish equilibrium and then throw more chaos in the mix.
I completely agree.
And I just want to catch myself before I do that, to make sure if we do it, that we're doing it for the right reasons.
I think it's also societal. And I do remember you asking on Instagram about the second child thing, and I think I put in something, and I'm not sure if you see everyone's, but I remember being like, my pressure came, and we'd such hell to make that second baby, from wanting her to have a sibling, because I felt like she would have a terrible, awful, tragic, sad, depressing life without a sibling. Not true.
I know.
Untrue. Not proven, not anything statistic. But I think there was 3 of us in a family. I don't know whether that benefit, but and I don't think it was from family but there's a societal need to fill the void and add. And I think also when your marriage, you're tired, you're drained, you have this baby, there's also the fix-it thing of like, you have another romantic thing, and it's going to be human, and they're cute. Yeah. And also you become broody. Everyone else is doing it, and you're like, fuck it. And there was a point where we weren't getting anywhere trying to have Simone, and we were struggling. And Jason was like, let's put a pin in it. This is fucking hell. And do you want, like, how badly do we want this? It's going to kill us. Like, and then we did have her, and like, no regrets, great and everything. But it isn't an easy decision. And I think we go pregnant, and there's an announcement and a flipping balloon, and it's pink, and every celebrity. And I think there's a lot of that horse shit, Caroline. And I think we got to be careful about, you're so correct, what we can manage. And I can tell you now, I don't care about people having 10 kids back in the 70s. I don't care. Having 2 for me, and both of us working full time and everything that goes with it, was huge.
That's a huge amount. No, I know in an ideal world, you know, research might show that people do better to have a sibling, but you have to take it into the context of, well, at what cost? Yes, he might have a sibling, but he might have a mother who has to go and spend time in a mental asylum, like
just for the summer.
Yeah, you know, I
agree.
I need to prioritize him. It wouldn't be fair to him right now for me to stretch myself more than I am, given his emotional needs. But also, apart from all of the logical reasons why maybe we feel like we wouldn't want to add to the mix right now, this biological drive is something you can't argue with. So if I, despite all of the reasons not to, if I felt so strongly that I needed to have another baby, that would win. But I'm not there yet. I just don't have that massive desire. And maybe that will come. And I think I would suspect that it would come when it feels like things get a little bit easier for Caelan. Like I really thought if he was skipping into Montessori and I relaxed a bit and thought, wow, maybe we've come through the hardest part, I could see myself very much being like, we did it. We could do it again. And maybe, I mean, part of the fear is having another baby, and everyone says, oh my, your second one will be so chilled. And Barry's like, well, what if they're not? What if they're worse? Like, what if we have more difficulties and that frightens us more than, so we're just not playing, we can't play roulette right now. But because we've had to backtrack, and I'm like, okay, now I've set myself back another potentially year or two where I can't go full steam ahead with my own work and career. Like there's loads of things I'd love to be doing. I can't do it, and it may look like I'm doing things, but I'm very much just dipping my toe into things. I'm keeping the bare minimum going to keep paying the bills and stuff, and to keep some sense of relevancy in the space that I'm in. But it's not my time right now. I'm not in the season of work. I'm in the season of my child needs me. And so I think we've now, if there was going to be another one, we've pushed it even further down the line. But then I'll be, you know, obviously getting older as well. So I'm 35. But if we do it, I wouldn't say it would be until I have him going in and out of school happily and not
and there's a joy there.
There's a joy there. Because
I remember, and also you've got a bit of your career back to yourself. I remember like after Simone was born thinking I'll never have a third, and there was a very broody, it was very strange, but you're right, it was physiological. Like she was about 18 months, so it was a few months ago. I was desperate. I was like, God, I think I want a third. And like we'd always said we will not have a third. Financially, actually, there was a ton of reasons. Logistically, we're getting a minder, and I really felt it strongly, and everyone was having babies. And it's so funny when you're looking around. I felt really sad. I definitely went through a bit of a grief. I was like, that is it for me. That's shutting up shop. And I'm through it now. Like we went on holidays, saw babies everywhere. There's baby stuff. I've gotten rid of equipment, which is always a sign. I'm through that. But yeah, I had to really make peace with that. I'm good now.
I do get really sad about it sometimes, because I look at people having the kind of experience that I wanted to have and think, what if I don't ever get to have that? Or maybe it would heal me, or maybe it would do something for me that would make me feel, maybe it would just sort of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
Not fix, but change that experience.
Yeah, you can't put that pressure on a kid, but or maybe if it hadn't been so difficult, I would have had another kid, and maybe I won't have another kid because of how difficult it was, and maybe there's a bit of resentment there, I don't know, but he's the one who's here, he's the priority, and I'm the priority. My mental health is the priority.
I love that.
And because it's been compromised too many times before, I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize it now.
Well, you look divine, which is kind of annoying. You'd expect you to look like a toilet.
I'd say my face is melting off.
No, it's not.
Completely.
Do you have any I don't let you go, but I probably need to wrap this up, but do you have any tips for mamas and daddas? Doing it on their own or doing it together? What is your most relevant tip?
I think it's such a natural thing to want to surround yourself with experts, but really when you do that, you're dulling down what you know best. And for all the experts in the world, they don't know your kid. So trying to have a real private conversation and based on your evidence of your child and what your child needs, not the noise of what everyone else does, is really important. And the fear of going against society is worth it if it means, helping your child along in some way. And don't be afraid to, if people say, no, but you have to do that because of this, kind of say, well, why?
Isn't that badass? Aren't you badass though? Isn't Caelan going to look back?
I'm only getting there now.
But aren't you badass? Like, isn't he going to go, no, mum decided we didn't do this because I think it's so incredible, and you actually don't even know, but you're doing such massive things every single day to change the course of, I think the transgenerational traumas, the way people did things.
It ends with me.
but you're pushing against it, Caroline, and I'm all for it. It's badass. And
it doesn't mean I still
it
won't
doesn't
mess him
matter.
up
He's going to be so proud of you. Sorry, what's the poem? They fuck you up, your mum and dad. They never mean to, but they do. That is that beautiful poem that was written like way back in the 80s, and I remember reading it in secondary school and being like, it's a bit strange. I'm like, no, it's true. We can't help it. We leave our shit behind.
Can I read you a little poem that
yes.
I wrote?
Oh my
on that
God.
note, that might be
Leave
helpful
me a
for
poem.
people if you have time.
Yes, I do.
Okay, let me make sure the reel doesn't play because that you don't want that playing. Because I said it.
How to use a vibrator. Now turn that one off. That is not relevant for this.
Okay, hang on a second. Sorry. You can cut this out, right? You can.
No,
as in you can cut this shitty bit out of me trying to find it.
Oh, no, we don't cut it.
Suede. I think I decided to call it Suede. Okay,
go on.
so I like to write a little poem because it helps me just
sec.
contextualize things.
Yeah.
I've always been so easily swayed by others' advice and opinions, losing my voice, saying, "You're probably right," forgetting this is not their dominion. Not when it comes to parenting my child, who trusts only me to know best. But they're experts. They've seen this before, I would say. My gut instinct once more suppressed. I've tried fitting into a box or a mould that society finds most agreeable, pushing what's expected before we are ready, only to create problems for now and the foreseeable. What's probably harder than this parenting thing is to let go of the approval of others. What worked for them may have worked really well for their mothers and their mothers' mothers. It's taken me until now to say it out loud. But thanks, we're doing just fine. Not all kids build resilience this way. It certainly doesn't work like that for mine. We will carve our own path and find our own way. I will learn to trust my intuition. So while it might seem unusual or not the done thing, fitting in is no longer my ambition.
All the feels. All the feels. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm
Thanks
so
for having
happy.
me.
Very, very happy
Hopefully
to have
some
had
of
you
it was
on.
coherent.
It was beautiful. Caroline Foran, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Little Birdie Told Me. And if you did, it would mean a lot to me if you could like, subscribe and share this episode.